Hi, my name is Jana, and I'm an admissions rep with Kansas State University Online. I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight to learn more about our personal financial planning programs. I'm joined by Dr. Derek Sensnick and Morgan Graham. They are going to spend roughly the next 30 minutes giving a presentation about this program, and then we'll spend the last few minutes answering your questions. Throughout the presentation, we will be using the chat feature and answering questions as they are being asked. Some of your questions may be saved until the end to answer. I wanted to let you know that we will be sharing a recording of this presentation following the webinar, and we'll just give a few minutes and then Dr. Sensnick and Morgan will be joining us. Thank you.
Thanks, Jana. Sorry, we were having a little trouble, but I think we're connected now. I'll give Derek or Dr. Sensnick a second, and I'll just start with our introduction. So thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. We're so glad that you're here and interested in the graduate PFP program at K-State. So just by way of some quick introductions, there's myself, Morgan Graham. I'm the graduate academic advisor at K-State for the PFP program. So that means I work with the master's program, the graduate certificates, and also the PhD program. And then we also have Dr. Derek Sensnick, who is the director of our graduate PFP program. And I think I see him off mute, so I'll let him jump in to introduce himself, and he'll get us started with our agenda.
Well, good evening. Welcome to our webinar presentation for the Kansas State Certificates and Master's Degree in Personal Financial Planning. I am Dr. Sensnick, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to join us. Throughout this meeting, if you have any questions, of course, feel free to put them in the chat, and we will get to them throughout the meeting. Today's presentation will last about 30 to 45 minutes, and then we'll have about 10 to 15 minutes for questions. If you could, in the chat, share with us where you're from and which program you are most interested in learning more about and potentially pursuing. Also, we will be recording this presentation, and you will receive a link to it after the meeting is completed, usually by tomorrow. So, the financial planning profession is a very unique profession. I've been in this profession now for about 14, 15 years. And in reality, most professions where you help people, you don't get paid well, or you can get paid well, but you may not get the flexibility or control of your schedule that you would like. Or maybe there's a lot of opportunity and you're looking to take advantage of that. Financial planning is really the perfect profession because it has a combination of all of the above. There's a great opportunity to help people with important financial situations such as investment planning, retirement planning, tax planning, and estate planning. And you also have the ability to earn a high income and have the flexibility in a lot of positions within our profession to control your time. And you also have the ability to choose various career paths based on what you enjoy doing the most. So the definition for financial planning that we're going to use for tonight comes from the Certified Financial Planning Board. It states that financial planning is a collaborative process that helps maximize a client's potential for meeting life goals through financial advice that integrates relevant elements of the client's personal and financial circumstances. Essentially, what that means is that there is not a lack of information out there, but there is a need to decipher and apply the information that is out there to the unique situations of individuals based on their own goals and objectives. Financial planning is a lot like putting together a puzzle. Not only do you have fact-based information like income, net worth, age to consider, but you also have what they call the soft side of information that includes behavioral aspects that incorporate the why behind their actions, biases, attitude towards money, and lifestyle considerations. So as we walk through the financial planning process with clients, we look at helping them design their lifestyle in a manner that is realistic for them. James Clear has a really great statement or saying that I think is greatly applicable to the whole financial planning world. James Clear states that the ultimate form of preparation is not planning for a specific scenario, but a mindset that can handle uncertainty. And in our profession, there's not just one outcome that we are planning for. We know that there is extreme levels of uncertainty, especially when we're dealing with the future. Such discussions as how long someone will live requires not planning for a specific age, because naturally no one knows that, but rather handling the uncertainty of that. What happens if they live longer than expected? How do we make sure that they don't run out of money and still enjoy living today? These types of questions don't have one particular end, but rather many different possibilities that do need to be planned for. So how do we accomplish this? First, we do this through organization, which gives us a clear picture of various financial planning paths. Then develop a plan that builds confidence to handle uncertain future situations. And that's followed by an accountability process to make sure that we adapt to those future changes as they happen. The way this is accomplished as individuals within the profession can occur through many different career paths. So let's take a look at a couple of those. Based on our own personal strengths, there's a myriad of opportunities within the financial planning profession. First, there's the institutional side of the profession, which is typically a corporate setting with a compensation structure that is built around salary and bonuses. These opportunities are usually found in the fintech world. And then you also have banks, credit unions, trust companies, discount brokerage platforms like Vanguard and Fidelity, and then the product distribution side with jobs like wholesaling. Then there's the high risk, high reward side of our business, and that includes being an entrepreneur and building a book of business. This typically occurs within wirehouse brokerages, P&C companies like State Farm and Farmers Insurance, life and disability insurance companies, and also opening a franchise or using an independent broker-dealer. Then you have a segment that's a little bit more of a defined career path and can include more training, development, and mentorship. These include working for RIAs, and they can be small or large. You can also focus on the tax and accounting side of the RIA, or focus in on the counseling and therapy aspects. And then there's also working in academia and research to advance the knowledge of the profession. A traditional career path is one that you see here. It's certainly not the only possible route, but it can be seen as one potential route and a very popular track. A person typically starts out in a role like a paraplanner, where they may focus on the technical side of things like making trades or putting together the details of the financial plan. Then the next move is into more of a leadership role where you are the financial planner that is tasked with meeting with clients, building the plans, and may include bringing clients into the firm. Then as a senior advisor, the role changes to more of a marketing and business development role. And a lot of times these responsibilities may integrate and overlap with each other. Then at the top of this particular career path is the partner role, where the focus is mentoring, training, and developing other financial planners, as well as executing on the overarching business plan for the company to maintain its growth. So here's a brief overview of the different roles and responsibilities within the financial planning profession and the average compensation packages and duties that are involved with those positions. You'll see that there's a lot of overlap within the positions, and it's really based on what you find the most joy in doing. So with that, I'll turn it over to Morgan to dive into the offerings that we have at Kansas State to help you prepare for the career path that you may choose.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Derek. So financial planning is a really, really exciting field to be a part of, to get started in. There's a lot of opportunities that are out there. There's a huge demand for financial planners. So whether you're on the call tonight and you're already working for a firm and you're looking towards, furthering your education, looking towards maybe CFP certification, or you're on the call tonight and you're a career changer, there's really a space for everybody. And a lot of opportunities there. So I'm excited that you're here with us tonight. If you haven't already, still be sure to go ahead and put in the chat where you're from, what program you're interested in, because we'd love to learn that about you. So want to shift now to our program here at K-State and what we offer to you. So you'll see those included here on the screen. We've got the Personal Financial Planning Graduate Certificate, the Financial Therapy Grad Certificate, Advanced Financial Planning Certificate, and then we have our master's degree and the doctoral degree, and we're going to focus on those first four tonight. But if you are on the call and you're also thinking you have some interest in the PhD, let me know, because we can also set up some time for you and I to chat about that. So I want to spend a couple minutes talking about our certificates. So starting first with financial therapy. So this is a really unique offering that we have. It's 4 classes. that really focus on, I like to just say, the human side of money. So you'll see it's client-centered training, helping you better serve your clients, looking into their psyche and their individual perspective with money, and then techniques and strategies to really drive clients to action that align with their goals. And so we know that you can and you need to learn those technical aspects of financial planning so that you can provide, quality advice and ethical advice. But that isn't always enough to get clients to move to action, right? I was at a conference recently and I heard someone say, and I wish I could cite this better, but I heard someone say that clients only apply about 20% of the advice that they're given. And so even if that number, maybe it's a little bit higher, a little bit lower, but that's still compared to the quality of the advice that they're getting, there's more they can be doing to help them meet their goals. And so looking at financial therapy, it's understanding why. So it's helping you understand kind of what's going on behind the scenes, what's going on behind the curtain of how people think about money. Money can, be associated with shame. It can be associated with fear. It can play a part in family relationships and romantic relationships and, things like that. And so financial therapy is going to help you understand how people interact with money. And then it's also going to take you a step further and help you understand, okay, we understand what's going on. Now, what do we do with that? How do we have those hard conversations? Financial planners might sit down with folks who've experienced a loss. They've had a death in their family, that maybe they're going through divorce, or they're encountering bankruptcy, or they're in a lot of debt. All of these things that can be really, really difficult conversations. The financial therapy classes are going to help you talk about that and how you can be productive in those conversations and comfortable in those conversations with your clients. The Advanced Financial Planning Certificate. So this is designed for folks who already have their CFP certification and want to take that even deeper. And so you'll see there in the middle, the 4 classes, so Advanced Estate Planning, Retirement, Tax, and Practice Management. And so Dr. Senseneg, he's one of our main instructors for those courses, and he really likes to just take a deeper dive into those technical content areas and, lots of case studies and application so you can better evaluate and determine recommendations for your clients. And I didn't start with the graduate certificate for just the core CFP because I wanted to get here where you can see the classes listed out. But so our master's degree is really going to be comprised of you selecting 2 of our graduate certificates. So I mentioned financial therapy and advanced planning. And then here at number 1, you'll see the PFP grad certificate. So that's what we call the core CFP content. So it's 18 credit hours, 6 classes, and that's going to cover insurance, retirement, investments, tax, estate, and case studies. So all of those required content areas to make you eligible to sit for the CFP exam. The master's itself, you'll see at the top, is comprised of 10 courses, so 30 credit hours. And so you'll take a combination of those certificates. So you might do the PFP graduate certificate with financial therapy. So you've got 6 courses for the core and then 4 for financial therapy, and those paired together will get you the master's. Or you may pair the core PFP with the advanced financial planning. Or if you are on the call and you already have your CFP certification, then what you would do is the advanced financial planning with the financial therapy, and then you would pick 2 electives. And these are some that we often see students taking. With most often, I see students doing foundations of leadership and conflict resolution because they find it really helpful to their practice, depending on what their goals are in financial planning. So actually, I'm going to jump back just a little bit to talk a little bit more about the structure of the program. So it's fully online. Obviously, we're a distance program, so we have students from all across the country. All of our classes are 8 weeks long. And so that's a pretty quick time frame for a graduate class. And so typically what students will do is complete 2 classes in a semester, but 1 at a time. So you'll do 1 in the first 8 weeks and 1 in the second 8 weeks. So that way at any given time, you're probably just focusing on 1 class, but still finishing a semester with 6 credits. So for students following this pace, that typically means 2 years to finish the degree, because you'll do 2 in the fall, 1 in the summer, and 2 in the spring. However, that said, there's a lot of flexibility there. And so we know that our students are working full time. Our program is designed for students who are working full time. We know you've got work and you've got families and you've got lives. And so there's a lot of flexibility there that we can work on a unique plan for you. But typically the timeline is going to be 2 years for the full master's degree. If you're just doing a certificate, so the PFP grad certificate, 6 courses, 18 hours, that typically will take about 14 months, so just over a year. And then with the financial therapy grad certificate and the advanced planning grad certificate, those will typically take 2 semesters, just depending on what time of the year you're starting. So now I just want to talk to you about why K-State. We know there are a lot of options that are out there, but we're really, really proud to be able to offer K-State to you as an option for your graduate education, for your CFP education. We have a very committed faculty, Dr. Sensenig included in that. And so especially within the CFP classes, looking there, all of our faculty are also CFP practitioners. And so they're in the profession, they're doing the work, they know the process, they know the industry. And so they have really, really good firsthand experience. But then they're also committed teachers. And so they're really engaged with you and making sure that you're learning everything that you need to know. One thing that I'll mention too is that with our program, it is 8-week classes and people say, okay, is it synchronous? Is it asynchronous? We don't have required class meetings throughout the semester. So you get to do things on your own pace throughout the week, and you'll have readings, you might have discussion boards and quizzes, things like that. You will still have weekly deadlines though. So it's still moving at the pace of, a standard pace through those 8 weeks. But even though there's not a required class session every week and you show up for lecture, there is an optional Zoom session every week. And so this is a really great opportunity for students to still connect with their professors, still connect with their classmates, ask questions, do some hands-on application over what you've read that week and the different material. So even though you're doing this from a distance, you're still working together with your professor, with your classmates. We've seen a lot of students who build study groups out of that, and it becomes a really great option to stay connected and build that student support and that peer support while you're in the program. Students will move through the program in kind of an informal cohort, just based on the timing that you start. So you'll find that there is just a natural progression through the courses. So you'll start to see the same people in there. And so you're building those relationships, building that support. And so you can work together as you're moving through the classes. Already talked about the timeline of the courses, also talk about that the program does meet the educational requirements for CFP as well as AFCPE. And so if CFP certification is your goal of this program, whether you do the PFP grad certificate or if you do the full master's, it would qualify you to sit for the exam. So what I want to move to now then is the application requirements. And I know I've seen a couple of questions come through, so I'll make sure that we have plenty of time to read those and make sure we answer your questions. So for the core PFP certificate, the advanced planning, and the master's, those requirements are over here on the left side of the slide. So you'll upload your resume, a personal statement, which can be about a page. It doesn't have to be terribly long, but a personal statement. If you are new to applying to graduate programs and new to writing personal statements, one of our instructors at K-State, he's not in our program, he's in psychology, but he has a great resource on YouTube. It's just about a 10-minute long video. He calls his YouTube channel is called Engage the Sage, but he's got a great video on there about writing a personal statement. So I would encourage you to look that up on YouTube if you want some guidance, some recommendations on how to form a personal statement for your master's application. So you'll do your resume, personal statement, unofficial transcripts. So from anywhere you attended prior to K-State. Once you're admitted to the program, you will have to follow up with official transcripts, but for the application, it's just unofficial. And then references. So you'll have 3 references for the application, and you'll want to make sure that they know that, make sure they know the timeline for when you're starting classes, because your application isn't technically complete till we have all materials, including your references. So we can't review it and we can't admit you until we have all of that. So just make sure they're in the loop. And then there's a $65 application fee that's due as well. For financial therapy, you'll see it's all the same requirements minus the references. So if you're only interested in the financial therapy certificate, you will have resume, personal statement, and unofficial transcripts and that application fee. A few other things that we typically get some questions around is the cost. And so currently the cost, and this is for spring, summer, and fall of 2023. So this is determined for this calendar year. $6.35 and 10 cents per credit hour. And so all of our courses are 3 credits each. And so if you're looking for the overall cost of the program for the master's, it would be that $6.35 times 30 for the 30 credits. We do often get asked about scholarships. And so K-State does have scholarships that they will share and make available to graduate students. And some of them are kind of specific just based on different initiatives or, different organizations that are providing those scholarships. We don't have any that are coming directly from the PFP program, but you can look into those available from K-State. I can direct you to where you can talk to some folks about that, and then as well as financial aid for assistance with covering those costs. The timeline for applying, we typically recommend at least 4 weeks before classes start. So since our classes are every 8 weeks, that really means there's an opportunity to begin in January, March, the very end of May, kind of start of June, August, and October. So it's 5 points in a year that you can apply and get started. We just recommend at least a few weeks before classes start so that we have time to get you admitted, and you and I will have an advising meeting and make sure that you're just set up for success. And then often people ask for the master's, is the GRE or the GMAT required? It's not required for the master's. That is only required for the PhD program. One other question or one other item that I'll go ahead and mention is that some students will enter and they will be primarily interested in maybe the PFP certificate. And they're thinking, I might go for the master's later, but kind of unsure, I might decide that down the road. If that's you, or maybe you're even thinking it for a different certificate, but if that's you and you're thinking, okay, I know I want the certificate, the master's, leaning towards it, but unsure. My recommendation is just to go ahead and apply for the full master's. And the reason that I say that is because when you're doing the master's degree, you are coming away with that full MS, but you are also still coming away with 2 graduate certificates. And so if you go ahead and progress through one of the certificates that you know for sure that you want, you're still going to earn that. And then if anything changes and you decide, maybe the master's isn't the right fit right now, or maybe I need a break and I'll come back in a semester or 2, that's okay. You're still going to earn the master's. There's still a time where you can, if you need to pause from classes for a little bit and come back, and then keep working towards the master's degree. But if you go ahead and apply for the master's up front, it just saves you having to do the application twice. It's kind of the whole point. You don't have to do the application twice. You don't have to pay the fee twice. So that would be kind of my recommendation for you there. And so then in terms of next steps, if you are ready to apply for any of these programs, you'll just go to online.kstate.edu and click on how to apply. And it'll walk you through, selecting a graduate program. You'll pick which one and it'll get you set up for that application. So that's a lot of information. And I want to take a second now to make sure that I'm looking through the questions in the chat. Thank you so much for letting us know where you're coming from, what programs you're interested in. So in terms of questions that I see, can the references be all professional? Do you require any academic references? So we don't have any requirements around who those folks are. We just want to make sure it's someone who can just speak to your ability to be successful in a graduate program. So that can be a professional reference, it can be an academic reference, it can be a mix of both. And if you find that maybe you're kind of new, fresh out of college, or, maybe you just don't have that many professional references, reach out to me and we'll have a conversation and see, how we can determine who may or may not be a good fit for you there. But all that to say, yes, they can be professional or academic. Okay, do you have stats on what percentage of your graduates pass the CFP exam? We do have those available, and I'm sorry I haven't pulled those in here. I need to remember to do that next time, but I know that typically our pass rate is above the national average. So typically the national average for CFP board, the pass rate is about 63%. It kind of dances between 61 and 64%. And we're typically at a higher rate than that, usually 65 or above, 70% above, somewhere in there. Okay, another question. Do we have many students that go full-time? Is that possible? Typically, our students will not go full-time, but because it is generally, we find students are working full-time, so that's just not available to them. It is possible. Students can enroll full-time What we may run into is just the timing that classes are offered. So we may be able to get you full-time, which at the graduate level, full-time is considered 9 credits or more. So that would be 3 classes. And so we would probably be able to get you in full-time status if you needed to be for a few semesters, and then we may just be a little more limited in what's offered later. But if that is something that is preferable for you, then we could absolutely talk about that and create a graduation plan. One other thing I'll mention is that I'm more than happy to meet one-on-one with each of you after this call. And so if you want to create a sample graduation plan, I can do that, and we can look at what that timeline may look like for you specifically. Oh, this is a good question. So do you ever have students taking the master's program sit for the CFP immediately after finishing the 6 classes in the PFP section, or do they usually wait until they are done with the entire MS? So that timeline would be taking the first, the core PFP classes, those 6, and then you would have those 4 left. So financial therapy or advanced planning. So typically what I recommend, what K-State tends to recommend, and also I would say what CFP board would recommend, is to sit for the exam pretty much as soon as possible after finishing those core 6 classes. So for instance, we might have students finish case studies, which is the last of that core 6. They'll wrap that up in early March, and then they might go sit for the exam in July. So they may take a break for like the second 8 weeks of spring and the summer, and then come back in August for the fall. If you're doing PFP with financial therapy, typically I recommend students do that because you want to sit for the exam while things are still kind of fresh. And that timeline would allow you to, finish classes, do a review program, go to the exam, and then pick things back up in August like you never left. If you're doing advanced planning, then it's a little different because you're still around that content. So maybe you do those remaining 4 and then sit for the exam. But all that to say, it is typical for students to sit for the CFP exam while they're in the program. Okay, some more questions rolling in. Is it possible to apply sometime this summer and enroll in the first few classes? Sorry, I read that wrong. Is it possible to apply sometime this spring and enroll in the first few classes in the summer semester? We do have a couple questions that are offered, or a couple of classes that are offered in the summer. So yes, it is possible to be applying this spring and get started in the summer, which again, for us, summer classes start at the very, very end of May. So really 8 weeks in the summer is going to be, mostly June and July. How often are the classes taught? What is the rotation, and does it include summer? So what I can do, and I'm going to put a link in the chat so that you can see when each of our classes are offered. The first link that I'm going to put into the chat is for the financial therapy classes. And the second link that I'm going to put in is for the core PFP classes. I don't have a link for the advanced planning, but I'll tell you right now that those are each offered once a year in fall and spring. So it would be a fall and a spring timeline for those 4. But the classes for financial therapy, all of those classes are each taught twice a year. So there's some more flexibility in terms of timing when you can complete those. With the core PFP, those are each offered once a year, except for case studies, which we offer twice. That's the last class in the program. So it's offered twice, but everything else is offered once a year. The question also said, what's rotation? Does it include summer? So yes, 2 of our classes are taught in the summer. That is tax and applied behavioral finance. Those are the only 2 we offer in the summer. Tax is only offered in the summer, so not a lot of flexibility there. Applied behavioral is also offered during the regular semester, so some flexibility there. Again, if you want to set up a meeting with me to create a graduation plan, I'm more than happy to do that. I'm going to put my Calendly link into the chat. And so that way you can use my calendars to set up time for us to meet so we can create a graduation plan unique to you, and also just answer any questions that you have. And I'm just going to do another pass through the chat for any questions. Let me see. Okay, so this is a good question. So, Aaron already has a CFP, and so he's asking if he gets to the end of the master's and would like to continue on to apply to the PhD. Would any of the MS classes or the master's classes count towards the PhD, or would I have to start from scratch? So that's a really good question. So the PhD is 90 credit hours, and 30 of those are the core PFP and electives. If you are coming in with the master's degree, you will essentially kind of transfer out of those, so to speak. So yes, the credits would count towards the PhD. So instead of having 90 credits to fulfill or 90 hours to fulfill for the doctorate, instead you would just have 60. And just the timeline of the PhD, typically we say 3.5 to 5 years. Most students will do it in 4 or 4.5, kind of landing there in the middle. I think those are all of the questions that I see, but I'll give just another moment for any other questions to come in, but if not, we'll go ahead and wrap up. So here's our contact information again. You've got the online folks who are great and absolutely able to answer questions, have conversations with you. You've also got Dr. Sensenig and myself. We would love to receive emails from you, so you're more than welcome to reach out. And then again, my calendar link is in the chat. And so you're more than welcome to set up time to meet with me one-on-one. Would be happy to have a conversation with you and give you any information you need about the program. And hopefully get you started. And we'd love to see you join us at K-State. So if there are no other questions, that's all I've got. And I think that Jana will close us out.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Dr. Sensenig and Morgan for their presentation, and I want to thank everyone for joining us here tonight. If you are ready to apply, please visit our website at online.ksu.edu and select how to apply for detailed instruction. As a reminder, everyone who has registered for this webinar will be receiving a recording via email as soon as it's available. We also wanted to be sure to let everyone know that we do have application fee waivers available for those who attended the webinar tonight and who are applying for the summer 2023 semester. Feel free to reach out to us at online@ksu.edu when you are ready to apply, and we will be happy to provide you with a code. Finally, if you have any additional questions that we didn't cover tonight, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks, and I hope you all have a great night.